So we'll start this episode with a question. Do battlefield tactics really matter in Bannerlord? That's the question we'll strive to answer in this episode. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord is an exquisite medieval combat simulator from gritty, bloody, ground-level play. Playing this beautiful grisly game is a pleasure, but its combat system is complex, and as a battlefield commander, you are responsible for the fate of your army. The moves they make based on your command and intellect will literally decide the fate of your campaign. Still, a well-established adage is that the entire concept of battlefield tactics in Bannerlord is a myth, that there's not much you can do as a commander to swing the battle strongly in one direction or another. In this episode, I'll seek to demonstrate empirically that not only do tactics matter in Bannerlord, that the proper use of intelligent tactics can be the difference between being crushed on the battlefield or utterly demolishing your foe. Like a court lawyer, I'm going to present my case in easy-to-see narratives with real game examples and then show clear evidence using the game's artificial intelligence and auto-resolve to show clearly and definitively that battlefield-changing tactics aren't just possible in Bannerlord, they are really at the heart of what's great about the game. In sum, the ability for you as the commander in the center of the story to play the legendary general that helps your small clan expand into a world-conquering kingdom. Now you can probably guess by the name of our channel, tactics are what we do here. It's our focus. Heck, it's practically an obsession, squeezing the maximum killing efficiency out of our army in whatever scenario we are in. We are obviously a bit biased and firmly believe that tactics do matter, but there's another simple reason I think you want to use tactics. Pure satisfaction. Ultimately, Bannerlord is first and foremost a combat simulator, and the combat system is just awesome. Now sure, you can win battles when you outnumber your foe without tactics, but there's an enormous amount of satisfaction you will get from winning very hard battles using your brain before your sword through the use of advanced tactics. In this episode, I hope to convince you of this fact once and for all. Now, I got the inspiration for this episode based on a battle that happened recently in one of my campaigns. It's actually part of our Peasants Revolt campaign, which I would highly encourage you to check out if you're interested in more details about battlefield tactics. Of course, realistically, our whole channel is based on tactics, right? We have tactics in scenarios where we're fighting with small armies, where we're fighting in huge armies in some of the largest battles seen in Bannerlord. We have tactics for keep sieges, etc. In this particular side branch of our campaign, though, we were simulating a peasants' revolt, right? We're running around with this group of peasants. It's about 500-600 guys, and we have some sort of ground rules that we set, right? We have lower level troops. In fact, we don't have any tier 5 or 6 units in our entire little army here. We are simulating we're peasants, right? And so we don't have any noble units. Obviously, we don't have any of the highest tiered units from any of the sides either. We did this intentionally for difficulty, and we were striving to get up here to defend Sanaopa. Now what I'm actually going to do is just narrate and explain this briefly leading up to this battle, and then I'll actually let the original narration that I shot live take over. As you can see, what we encountered was a very large force here of the Northern Empire, 1,400 strong, heading to one of our cities to siege it. Well, we couldn't allow that. We had to also fight through them to get to Sanaopa in order to defend that city, right? In this case, it looked like there were 3 or 4 different armies, all larger than ours, very close to us here, right? So running in this situation here is not really an option. And despite the fact that this army is full of tier 5 units, legionnaires, Bucellaries, elite Manavliatons, we decided ultimately to fight. Now you get a little glance at our roster here, right? Our list of units. And again, there's no tier 5 and no 6. And you'll also notice a surprising amount of militia and recruits and very low level troops, right? Probably half our army here, maybe a little bit more, is tier 2 and lower. So fighting a full army, in fact, twice the size of ours with very low-level units, obviously, we can't just barrel in, charge the enemy like we're Rambo and think we're going to win. This is where tactics is essential. Now what we'll do here to prove how valuable tactics are in this instance, after you get to watch the original encounter in which we fight this force, what I'll do is I'll reload the save game and then we'll do 2 or 3 different examples. We'll try an auto-resolve where the PC AI takes over. We'll try an actual battle where we let the sergeants take over, right? In other words, AI versus AI. Finally, the last thing we'll do is we'll do some basic tactics from an RTS overhead view and see what basic tactics would help in this situation. In other words, how would you do with basic tactics versus advanced tactics? It doesn't look like much, but this is actually a great tactical opportunity here. My trained eye of 1,000 battles, I can detect these little things in the landscape. There's a bit of a peekaboo ridge here. We'll be able to sort of limit their archer fire on us, while we can absolutely light them up as they come over the ridge. Now we've got a good amount of shock troops here in the 3rd Division, so let's do a shield and shock on the left flank. Heavy cav towards the front, and it's not very heavy cav, right? We don't have any elite heavy cav. It's kind of brigands and whatnot, guys with wooden shields. We'll put the shock troops behind them to charge if the cavalry gets in there, and that'll protect those shock troops. Meanwhile, over here, let's put the crossbow. That way they can square with those 2 other infantry divisions, and archers up on the hillside here. That way if the enemy comes down and attacks that infantry and that crossbow division, those units can all square while we pound the enemy with ammunition and arrows and whatnot from up here. I've got the 7th is just horse archers. I'll probably just have them follow me. It's inconsequential here. And then I've got the 8th Corps as well. Whoops, I started the 8th Corps down the hill here. So we're going to have those guys scramble up the hill. The 8th Corps ordinarily in my campaign is an elite unit, but we don't have any elite units, right? We have a handful of companions that are injured. All of them, like me, are wearing watered down equipment intentionally to continue to sort of support our rebellious empire here, if you can call it an empire, our little rebellion. We don't have any tier 5 or 6 troops in our entire army. And here we are fighting a force of Northern Empire with twice our number, with like 150 plus tier 5 units. Now they have horse archers, so I'm changing the configuration of my archers here. I've moved the crossbow up the hill and the archers down the hill, and that's because crossbow typically circle here. We want to protect them. I also have my cav here in a square or in a circle now, protecting our 3rd Division. Because they have horse archers, I needed to shift on the fly here, right? So the cav is now protecting that 3rd Division. The archers can still unload some arrows here. We're going to do a little bit of work, on the margin here. But we're now protecting that 3rd Division with the circle, because these horse archers are very likely to circle us, right? We want to have that 3rd Division, those shock troops with no shields, protected by the cav. I'm also going to be able to square that crossbow division. That's the other reason I brought them up the hill. Because the horse archers always come counterclockwise, the crossbow division now can square up here and protect themselves against all these horse archers. I'm going to knock some of these insolent fuck nobles onto the ground, knock them into the ditch, and we're going to see if we can't fight off these horse archers first. It looks like their main force is sort of skirmishing at the margin there instead of charging. Let's square the 4th. That's good for us, right? They're effectively jousting with our archers there, but we have shield walls facing them. We're going to be able to do okay there. Right, that peekaboo ridge is preventing the bulk of their archers from getting over that ridge. I just opened up our archers because these crossbowmen moved away a little bit. Or not crossbow, because their horse archers moved away just a touch. I'm doing my best to narrate, but obviously it's very difficult to command 8 units, advanced tactics, and narrate in a coherent fashion. I'll do my best. The horse archers are now charging through. That's fine, though, because most of our units are protected, right? And they are taking withering fire from our archers here. Yeah, take that, noble. Melchea takes the mace. All right, let's open up the 4th, and let's start to flank this enemy force. This enemy force is in a defensive stance. I like to say this is defeat formation, just like the NFL. Instead of victory formation, they are offering themselves up here to the god of Odin, right? To the god of war. These guys are just begging to be killed. What is it, Joe Pesci? These guys are just begging to be made an example of, right? We're gonna butcher these guys. They've got a heavy cav line here, but we're ready for them, right? Our 2nd Corps here of cav with these shock troops behind them. If any cav charge this, they will be decimated, right? They will be slowed down on all that heavy cav, and they will be annihilated by our shock troops. All right, let's continue to flank here. Their enemy situation is just static, so I'm going to put the 4th and the 8th Corps up here atop this ridge, shooting down on the enemy. Our skirmishers can advance. Our archers in the 5th Corps can advance. You can see they're really pinning the enemy down there. Let's take this horse out. Their heavy cav keeps on, like, kind of charging back and forth. If they're a threat to our crossbowmen here, we've got them in a square. They're really not going to be able to penetrate that side. This is very much like a chess match, right? We're moving in. Each defensive move we make has an offensive concept behind it. And very shortly here, we're going to engage and destroy this enemy force. Alright, so Archer's still doing good work. Again, the 2nd and the 3rd group are paired. All these shock troops are basically going to be hanging out this whole battle with that 2nd Cav division. Talked about the... Oh, here comes their infantry. Alright, we're going to back up the 1st infantry into a shield. Skirmishers behind him. The 4th crossbowmen up here will be part of the attack. We'll have them flank hard on the enemy's right flank. Cav can lead the way for our shock troops. And we're going to maul their vanguard here. They're coming in hot. The 3rd Corps is going to be behind me here, and we're going to swallow up this infantry line here. The Cav here is shielding us from their archers. The 3rd Corps gets sent in to attack. The 4th crossbowmen get sent to attack. The skirmishers get sent to attack, and we're going to wade in here. All these protected shock troops can now go to work. I can swing my laser fast hammer in here, and we're going to truck this fucking vanguard. Yeah, you guys are having second thoughts now, aren't you? Look at they're starting to backpedal. My hammer's really short. I need the longer one to work on the guys on horse. A little bit slower, but a little bit more effective. We can take these guys out that are standing pompously above us, these fucking nobles. They've got archers right there at the margin kind of hitting us with arrows, but it's not too bad. Let's push up in their face with shield walls. Calves can lead the way. They look like they're reforming. Yeah, they probably got reinforcements. So we'll send a very temporary cav charge in here. I'm not going to be charging over this ridge because of this advantage that we have here, right? The enemy attacked us. They have to come to us. We're going to reset here shortly and make the enemy continue to come over this ridge. But any of their retreating troops here, I want to lay a licking on them before they can get back to their other mates. Alright, so this is the ridge I want to maintain. We're even closer to the ridge now, so it's going to be even harder for their troops to shoot us. We're going to reset our formations. I'm not going to be able to explain and articulate every single thing I just did there, but it's more or less the same, right? 4th and 8th on the left corps holding that. Those are crossbowmen, infantry divisions, and shield wall. Yeah, the enemy's full-on pulled back here, except for their cav, which is kind of getting butchered. It seems like they're trying to skirmish with their heavy cav, and it's not going well for them. They still have some horse archers left, but that was a devastating assault there that we just gave them. Alright, so cav, 1st and 6th, and shield wall. Our crossbow division's still in pretty good shape. Our skirmishers still look like they have a few javelins. Man, that's why I love, like, Lake Rat. Those Lake Rat boys, they come with, I think, 10 javelins. That's hugely invaluable in a fight like this. These guys here can be attacked directly by Cav in the 3rd Corps. Their Cav keeps on kind of coming close. Very bad decision. We have the rest of their units really kind of trapped. If they come over this ridge, they're going to get hit with withering archer fire. And if they don't, of course, at some point, we're gonna take the advantage, right? They're kind of trapped. It's a chess parlance. It's sort of checkmate, right? Whatever they do here, we basically have a nasty answer for them. I don't even know how I would deal with this if I was fighting on the other side. It's a bad situation for the enemy. So here they just charged with cav. Very bad decision. Our shock troops are told to charge, and all these furious two-handed weapon motherfuckers are now attacking slowed down, sort of trapped and slowed down cavalry. It's a very bad situation for them. You can see them running up here with their axes. There's another line of heavy cav waiting in here. But look at this. They can't charge this. I mean, this guy here is fucking dead. I just knocked him from his horse. Kill him, boys. The shock troops are going to obliterate that cataphract. Good night. Alright, let's retrieve these guys. They get a little overzealous. That's probably the only thing they don't like about my command, is that I have, we have a lot of discipline in our ranks here. We're not just going to fly recklessly with our shock division. All right, you can see a lot of their archers can't even shoot us. We're absorbing a lot of their arrows here with this heavy cav division. Their horse archers keep coming over this ridge and getting obliterated because my archers have nothing else to shoot at, right? They're like, oh, sweet, targets finally. And the enemy is totally bound up again in this formation. We're going to be able to destroy this. All right, let's start flanking again like I did before with the crossbow in the 8th Division. There's some ranged units in there. We're going to push forward with this second cav, right? This shock and shield tactic. So the heavy cav, if you can call it that, right? Tier 3 and tier 4 horses maybe. They're going to lead the way for the 3rd Corps, our shock troops. We're going to move our infantry closer to the enemy here, and then we're going to charge with the archers, right? We're going to basically swallow up this force. The military parlance for this would be basically turning the enemy's right flank, but in this case, we're just going to envelop them. It's going to be more than just a flank turning, right? These shock troops here, we can start to manually control them, and then I'm going to drag the 2nd and 3rd, this heavy cav division, right into the enemy's right flank. All these vulnerable archers here are about to have a very bad day. Here comes the cav. Right behind them, coming downhill, are all those shock troops. Our infantry just hit their line. I'm going to join them here on foot again. This seems like a perfect opportunity to just wade in on their archers. Slam them with our fast, longer mace here, and really they're trying to reform, and they've got shock troops barreling down the hill on them. This calls for just a berserker charge here. Their archers are totally trapped. We're just going to fly in recklessly here. The screen is almost entirely green. They're reforming right in the face of this charge. This is a massacre. We want full pressure here. This is a situation where, well, Zuvan is dropped. All right, we'll continue taking on here. We got a new character, Charge. This is a perfect situation for F1, F3. People kind of jokingly suggest that's the best tactic. Now that we have them on the run, now that we've devastated 3 of their ranks, including their vanguard, now we want to F1, F3. It's perfectly legitimate here. I will position archers just on this ridge. They don't need to charge. But the rest of our troops, because the enemy's reforming here, I don't want them to get a chance to start to reform their lines, to get their archers in a good position. I want this cav in here just causing fucking chaos, and we're just going to continue waiting in here. I've got this brand new companion. He barely even has armor on. Well, and that was sort of predictable result. All right, so here's another one of our companions. He's one of the few guys left who actually has armor. In we charge. This is an F1, F3 situation, full press, and charge in just recklessly. At the Battle of Friedland, Napoleon was in a similar situation like this, where the enemy was in a really bad spot, and he told one of his corps leaders, I think it was Marshal Lannes, charge, full head of steam, no matter what the damage is. Don't go left or right, go straight ahead, pour into this thick mass. And the idea is basically that the enemy's in a bad spot. We want to initiate and continue combat here so that we can annihilate this force. These archers are starting to set up. We want our infantry waiting in here and really just wasting these guys before they have a good chance to counter us. Our units are steamrolling pretty much everything in sight. We're going to suffer some losses. Look how many enemy forces there are. But this is a situation here where we just want to charge recklessly. This guy's a one-handed cavalryman. It's not the most optimal for doing damage, but he has a high rate of survivability, right? He's got a shield, and he's very capable of killing guys with his falcons. The enemy is full-on reforming / routing. I mean, this has been an absolute steamroller battle. And this is precisely what we needed, right? Because it looks like we have at least 2 more fights, maybe even 3. Whatever that force of 2,600 troops that was pouring down from Sanaiopa, it looks like it was heading to Amitatis. That's going to be our next objective, right? It's just a continual onslaught. Look at this noble gal. You ain't making it away. Eucor, cut down. You know, in our campaign, you know, again, if this is your first episode, straight out beheaded that dude. if this is your first episode, our peasants campaign, we have some rules that we're obeying here. We're simulating a peasant revolt where we're not allowed to have any tier 5 or 6 units. In fact, most of our nobles have taken off their chain armor and plate armor, with the exception of this guy. He's in a party, so I can't remove his armor. But everybody else is wearing rags because we want to sort of mix in. We want to fit right in with these peasants as they try to take out the tyrannical lords of Calradia. We don't have any tier 5 or 6 units, right? That's why you see guys with fucking bear caps and weak looking units all over the place. And we are essentially trying to take on the whole map, right, with this band of peasants, right? These guys have had enough of tyrannical despots, enough of oppressive taxes, and they want vengeance. And we are getting it. So this force of twice as many Northern Empire, we decimated. Maybe we lost 200. We didn't even lose 200 troops. I mean, this is shocking even to me how effective. I'm surprised myself sometimes even. This is an incredible example of how tactics can overcome the difficulty. Look, we put 1,300 into the ditch and lost 173 troops. Only 41 dead. That is an exceptional result given the circumstances. Looks like some of their retreating forces here will have to auto-resolve this. I might even have to come back and... I don't do this very often, but I may make a side episode of this battle. This battle was such a textbook example of how important tactics are here. I think this is a perfect example to sort of share with folks who are still a little cynical that tactics are essential. Now, of course, all you guys following the channel at this stage, you guys love tactics. That's why you're here. But there's still, I think, a lot of Bannerlord players that literally think F1, F3 is fine, and anything else is just icing on the cake. Well, hopefully this example, I think we'll try to come back and auto-resolve this battle. I know the answer already. It's going to be a loss, right? We know the answer empirically. All right, so as you can tell, as I was narrating that battle, it was obvious to me that was a unique example, a perfect example to show the value of tactics, right? So what we've done is I've reloaded the game. You can see I have the exact same force here. In fact, all of the circumstances are the same. If you're wondering why we're not upgrading, that's because the whole Peasants Revolt, we're not upgrading the troops there to tier 4 or 5. So in we go here with the exact same force against the exact same Northern Empire force of about twice our size. Again, there's nothing different. It's, I'm not like trying to trick you here or something like that. But we're going to do the auto-resolve first, right? Normal player damage, all the normal difficulties here. And just watch. Of course, we know auto-resolve is going to fail here, right? It's not going to be able to win 700 against 1,400. Auto-resolve almost always favors either defense, like a keep siege situation, or numbers, right? And the enemy ended up with 942 troops left after they just waltzed through our mediocre force here of peasants and rank 2 units and stuff like that. I would say the composition of the army is about 50-50 tier 2 and below, and then about 50% is tier 3 and tier 4. So there are some decent troops as I reload this game here. But as you can see, this higher level, much larger Northern Empire force in the auto-resolve absolutely destroyed our force, right? That's why at the beginning of the battle, the power bar is so heavily in favor to the Northern Empire. The AI is basically saying, you're crazy, you're not going to win this battle here. Now, I apologize for the load delay here. This sometimes happens when I'm recording like this. It'll just take a second longer. And what we'll do in this next demonstration here, again, just to empirically, and you can see the length of our campaign, 5974. Yeah, it's a very late game campaign. I challenge anybody to beat that, right? So in this next example here, now we will use the RTS mod, right? We'll do some overhead view of the exact same battle, and we will effectively give control to the captains, right? We will right away delegate control. Again, we're using normal player damage, and we will tell the group captains, okay, you guys are in charge, and we're just going to be a spectator in this battle. As you can see, exact same battlefield here. Again, if you use the AI, it's going to do not so brilliant stuff, right? The same way that fighting the AI does some not so great things in Bannerlord. Obviously, when you give your units over to the AI, disaster tends to follow. I know a lot of players that are early in the campaign that are using the AI for most of the battle. In other words, they're a vassal of like Sturgia or the Imperials, and they watch their fucking horrendous dipshit nobles do just unbelievable things, you know, and they're asking me questions. What am I supposed to do here? How am I supposed to help? Well, the real truth is you need to rebel as soon as you can so that you can stop these morons from being in charge, right? It's kind of like the 2024 American election. It would be better if both presidential candidates just died before the election and we got some fresh blood here. I don't think that's an exaggeration to say that a lot of the country would rather see anybody except these nincompoops run again. So I won't get too political here, but we're gonna run this battle and with the sergeants in control here, and we're gonna essentially try to analyze and see what the AI is doing here. Now I label it the AI stands for artificial imbecility, because unfortunately the AI for Bannerlord is, let's call it suboptimal. Another term for it, another synonym for suboptimal, is dog shit, dumpster fire bad. So we're gonna watch and see what it does here. The enemy's charging it with cav. And it looks like our side, the AI, is coming in with a big shield wall, and who the fuck knows what they're doing with the archers. They're in like a glob there also. I would say the archers are charging a shield wall, you know, which is not a thing. It looks like they're forming a long, big column, lengthwise, kind of perpendicular to the enemy, and then their infantry is doing like the hula dance down here, throwing javelins. Basically, it looks like they're in like a big rotating rectangle square. I can't tell what they're doing. But again, we're using this to sort of see how our force would do with another sort of intelligence besides ours executing tactics, right? And I think the purpose of this, the value of this, is going to show you that without good tactics, our army can't win here, right? The Northern Empire, with its superior numbers and higher quality troops, is going to eat our force alive here. So I have no idea what our archers are doing. It is kind of comedy hour. We'll slip in some comedy here. Okay, the infantry's coming down a shield wall. It looks like they're going to try to confront the enemy, which is an extremely bad decision because, of course, the enemy has legionnaires. They have Imperial Sergeant crossbowmen. Look at my character's wife is leading in with her finest prom dress. She just got killed. And they just charged. They charged the lion den, right? It's like they charged in and you lost track of your friend who was charging the lion's den. I just saw a shield go flying. They went into the lion's den and all you heard was screaming for a while, and then there was silence, right? Because they charged the lion den and they got killed. Now their infantry, or the archers, predictably are being trucked by enemy cav here. Of course, they have no protection, right? We protected our archers quite a bit in the last battle, and instead the enemy, it's really weird formation. They're in like a column form. Meanwhile, the infantry just basically flat suicided down there. Now I have no idea where their reinforcements. Okay, here comes their reinforcements. Orange obviously is the color of my little clan kingdom here, this little peasants revolt. So their archers, they look like they're peeling back to this infantry line, but they're running downhill while they're being spitted by enemy cav and shot by enemy archers. You can see the arrows just raining in here, mowing these guys down. They have a huge band of shield wall infantry that hasn't had enough killing, right? They already killed our infantry, and now they're just viciously chasing after the archers here. I can't help but laugh because it really is artificial imbecility. The archers are getting absolutely skewered by heavy cav. It's really hard to believe that this is the same forces in the same battle. The screen is primarily red. Every once in a while, there's a little surge of green. But for the most part, this has been an absolute pasting of our bandits here, of our peasant army. You see, the enemy has this incredibly potent, super safe archer line here, just spread out in a perfectly long column. Good luck attacking that, right? When the enemy presents you with that kind of a formation of archers, do something different, because if you charge that headlong, you are fucking dead. Not that it would matter. Look at the enemy here is just chasing our troops down. These guys honestly are acting like peasants. They look like peasants, and without our leadership, evidently, they fight like peasants, right? These guys they look like they're routing downhill. The screen is all red, and our peasant army is disintegrated here. There's another wave of reinforcements here. This little last valiant attempt. They popped out right into the into the sights of this like 200 plus archers that the enemy has perfectly spread out here, just raking them with broadsides. They have a little inadvertent lucky cover from the rock there, but all that's going to do is buy them like 30 seconds. Look at all these guys, these blacksmiths and stuff. It's been a really fun campaign, by the way. I'll give a little plug to our campaign of the Peasant Revolt. This battle's over, so I can spend 30 seconds talking about this. But basically, I'm simulating a Peasants Revolt in a campaign I'm in. We have about 8 or 9 nobles that took off all their armor, and they're leading tier 4 and below units, especially peasants and brigands and stuff like that. I can't take control of the character. Looks like he's dead. But effectively, it's been really fun to sort of struggle against the whole map with this group of peasants. I mean, this really gives you an idea of what we're fighting with. You can see militia and guys in like fucking cloth armor. And we're taking on, right, these really hard forces and trying to win through tactics. So you could say, in a way, our entire Peasants Revolt campaign is a bit of an example, a running textbook example of how powerful tactics are in Bannerlord. Because obviously without tactics, this Peasant Revolt would be over already, right? We've already faced forces like this, larger than us, and obviously we haven't lost a battle yet. I'll try not to spoil you and tell you what episode this is. I realize if you're watching the Peasant Revolt, I am probably going to release this episode a few episodes before some of these battles. Hopefully that doesn't totally ruin the suspense for folks. This Peasants Revolt series will probably get 8, 9, 10 episodes at least. But anyways, I digress from that topic. So that, as you can see, that was the destructive end to our army there, using the artificial imbecility. So the last thing we'll do is I'll reload this, and I'm going to come back and actually take control of the army with a little bit more competence, but we're going to run it with what I would consider basic or amateur tactics, right? We're going to run 4 divisions like most people who just start the game or who are uncomfortable commanding a lot of units, and we'll see how we do. All nice and cleanly renewed here, the same battle again. U-Core, this guy, I'm getting tired of seeing this guy's face. And we will use the RTS mod so we can fly around here. This is definitely the best way to see tactically battles in Bannerlord. And I have started to do more and more of our demonstration, more and more of our instructional videos to help you fellas using the RTS mod. The kill box, for example, we did overheads for it, and it was an enormously popular episode, right? All right, so now we're going to use 4 units here, which is typical for a lot of players when they play Bannerlord, whether you're a seasoned player. I'm not insulting your intelligence or something like that. I'm just saying the tactics that you can pull off with 4 units are far less advanced than you can do with 6, 7, or 8. And again, we have guides to help players get to the point where they can confidently and astutely command 8 divisions. Just a simple example is if you have 1 archer division, you can't have crossfire. You can't have the archers in multiple places shooting the enemy. They're all in one big glob. So there's many benefits to having 8 units. But in this battle, we'll fight sort of what I would consider a standard. I don't want to call. I'm trying not to denigrate folks. Look, if you're using 4 army groups, by no means am I saying like you're an amateur player or something like that. I'm just saying that this type of play can be improved upon considerably, and my channel here, our channel that we're showing these videos, these instructional videos, is literally designed to help players sort of break out of the mold and extend their skill level to the next step, right? So we have the infantry here in a nice shield wall. The shock troops, fortunately, are mostly behind that. That's going to sort of benefit them. Basically, I'm trying to win this battle. Playing with 4 units. Now, I'm not going to do incredibly dynamic tactics like kiting and stuff like that, but we may fool around with the square, and we'll do a little hammer and anvil if the opportunity presents itself with our cavalry here. On this side over here, I have the heavy cav in the division and the horse archers. I could probably attack with those horse archers, but there's like 7 guys, so it's not really. It's not really a thing. It's not like I'm going to be able to do major damage with those horse archers. Now already I'm seeing more green. That's because the enemy is pounding our shield wall with arrows, and our archers are beautifully positioned, right? We have what's called a peekaboo ridge. It's a ridge where the enemy has a hard time getting line of sight for their archers, and they're trying to peek over this ridge, and before they can really get good line of sight, they're being pounded. The effect of that is that they only have a couple of small rows of archers that that the AI feels comfortable using to shoot. And a lot of those archers are getting skewered, right? Because all of our archers are shooting. They're on a little ridge down there. They've got a nice little ridge. Your line of sight for archers is vital. So you can see their horse archers are kind of peeling back here. I'm not going to do anything too aggressive, but again, I'm not going to kite too much. And unlike normal battles, I will show this more often. So far, so good, right? We have a 2-to-1 or greater KDR, right? Kill to death ratio. So the enemy's coming in here with heavy cav. Now look at their archers, right? This is a dumpster fire formation. They have their infantry kind of skirmishing with our cav there, and their archers are really bound up. You want to use your archers in a nice spread location like that. That way, I mean, most of those guys can't even shoot. I'm looking at them; they're just standing there with their bows. So we'll make fun of the artificial intelligence some more in this episode. Chat GPT and generative AI is coming, friends. So enjoy these days where we can dominate in games like Bannerlord. In 10 years, I promise you. Games like Bannerlord will have a setting that says like generative AI expert, and it's probably going to destroy us and make us cry for mommy. If you don't know a lot about that, you can go read about it. But chess is the perfect example. Like one of the most complex games ever created. About 15 years ago, they started creating generative and complex models, AI models to play chess. And there was a day where finally they beat the best American and not just American. That's pretty American centric. The best chess players in the world. They beat some Russian players. And once those generative AI, I think it was called like Deep Blue or something like that. It was a Google, I believe, platform. Once they broke that crest and AI started beating chess players, it was all over. Literally, there's been like I think I heard not a single generative AI model has been defeated in chess since that moment, right? That's how powerful generative AI. They basically mop the floor with Carlos Magnuson and any other top player. So that's coming for Bannerlord. And again, we'll be sucking our thumbs in a fetal position over in the corner as the AI does all kinds of dynamic things and absolutely shoves our shit in. For the short term, though, so we're going to enjoy this while it lasts, right? Now look at these dipshits. Look at this guy. Some of these guys are literally looking off into the distance like they're wondering, I don't know, if they should ask that girl out at the bar. Look at this fucking guy here. He's literally, what are you looking at, dude? The battles are behind you. He's literally, let's see what he's looking at here. We'll make fun of the AI here while this battle goes on. I think he's trying to identify what animal he sees in those clouds. What do you think, fellas? He's like, that might be a giraffe, or actually that kind of looks like a jellyfish. This fucking guy literally is he's looking the wrong way this whole battle, and he hasn't shot an arrow yet, right? So here's artificial imbecility. We're going to make fun of it because before we're dead here in 20 years, it's going to be dominating our lives if it doesn't destroy us physically, if it doesn't destroy humanity altogether here. All right, so we just pushed off their cav defense by making an attack here. We're playing very static, and the enemy continues to play very static. It's kind of a boring affair. I apologize for this, but this is probably how a newer player would fight this battle, right? They would be back very content just to fire arrows at the enemy and rack up kills, right? We're doing a pretty decent job of racking up kills. Now we're taking the high elevation here, right? That's a good tactic that even new players should be taking advantage of. But we're really not doing anything dynamic here. In fact, you can see a lot of our archers are out of arrows. They've fired all their arrows. The enemy has a bunch of shield walls up too, so we're not doing major damage to the enemy with our arrows. I mean, we're doing good damage, but not major damage. So before everybody falls asleep here, we are going to try to assault this mass of the enemy. A lot of our guys are out of arrows. The enemy doesn't seem interested in attacking. So we're going to move our infantry forward. Our archers are charging, and we're going to try to hammer and anvil with our cav unit here. Hammer and anvil is where you attack the enemy from both sides. One side with infantry, the other side with cav. So their cav is kind of charging in here, causing some losses, killing some of our weak archers. The infantry gets rushed up and told to charge on the enemy, and at the same time we're watching our cav behind here. It's obviously very easy to do the timing when you have the RTS mod, because I can just fly in the heavens like I'm in a blimp. But look at the size of the force they're charging into, right? And we don't have shock troops leading like in that battle where I devastated the enemy here, right? So the enemy's absorbing this attack pretty well. We also never got flanking crossbowmen on them, etc., etc. There's a bunch of things that didn't happen in this episode that I was able to do with 8 units. We flanked them with skirmishers. We didn't do that here, obviously. Now we're putting up a decent fight. There's a little bit of red death spam, and then there's a wave of green. But ultimately, my wife's about to get killed. Ultimately, this is not a good-looking situation here. Right? The enemy has this thick mass of troops with cav behind them, and we're charging them with less amounts of troops. They just charged in with heavy cav here. We got reinforcements. They're in a nice position. They'll be able to join battle immediately. But what does that tell you? We just got reinforcements. That means we just lost a bunch of our troops, right? I think in that battle, that first battle that started this episode, I don't think we even ever got reinforcements. That's how successful the battle was. In other words, we didn't even lose enough troops to need reinforcements. That's how dominant that first example was. So the archers are pulling back here as this second wave of infantry tries to wade in. We're still trying to kill this first enemy vanguard. We completely swallowed it up in that first battle where I was using multiple divisions, all 8 divisions. Here, we're having a really hard time even just taking out their main vanguard. In fact, I don't even know if this episode is going to be a lot more successful than how the AI did with their stupid-looking column and all the things I was making fun of. Look at we're starting to get to the real dregs of the army here. Peasants, fucking raiders. Nobody here has anything better than a sack of potato cloth to wear for armor. So this battle is going just as bad, frankly, as the other battles. In fact, you can see, okay, we've got, we killed 400 or 500. But obviously this is going to be yet another loss. All right, so Your Honor, I've presented my evidence to you, all you honorable watchers, all you friends. Of course, the subscribers are kind of snickering, like, of course tactics matter. But what I really want to do is I want to try to convince that percentage of players that still thinks that F1, F3. I think most players are joking when they say F1, F3 is all you need. But I think there's a fair amount of players who really just think that tactics aren't a thing in Bannerlord, and I hope this evidence is far and away empirical evidence that tactics are necessary. You can see our peasants here getting skewered to the last man, and ultimately, here we have 4 different battles, right? And I'll just recap it here. They're going to end up killing about 400, almost 500 troops that they might kill, but the enemy will have, that means they'll have, what, 900 that survive, right? Because they had 1,400 to start. So the first example we used for demonstration's sake after that initial successful battle, that was an auto-resolve, and they got massacred, right? I think they killed 500 troops, and the enemy crushed them, right? So the enemy still had 932 units left, if my memory's right. The second battle, we let the sergeants take over, so AI versus AI, and the same result. There was about 500 enemy killed, so 900 left. This third battle, it looks like about the same. The enemy has about 900 troops left. So all 3 examples of these without advanced tactics, we don't just lose, we get destroyed. And then again, you can go back and watch that first battle where we put a beating on the enemy. So I rest your case, Your Honor. We're going to go retire here knowing that the verdict's going to go our way. I appreciate you fellas for watching. This was a long episode. Please like and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. I will keep on providing tactical evidence for you fellas over the course of the upcoming days and weeks and months. We've got a bunch of different sort of mini-series that are I'm punching out regular episodes for. There's no ads. I'm not a monetized channel. We're just having a good time here. And I appreciate you guys, all your comments and subscriptions and likes and all that kind of good stuff. Brings more guys to the channel. A lot of those guys have actually helped me with tactics that we're now sharing with you fellas. So thanks again for watching, friends, and I will see you guys next time.